Super uncomfortable today. At JMFB with your tweets. Mike Giardi is in Baltimore ahead of the Ravens and Cowboys. Ravens still recovering from their outbreak of COVID-19. A lot of ins and outs here, up and downs, adversity throughout the season. We saw this depleted roster last week. Where does it stand heading into Week 13 against the Cowboys? To wrap it up as we look ahead to Week 14.
Okay, it's a very interesting situation here for both teams coming into this game because of all the turmoil that they have gone through, right? And you mentioned the Ravens still dealing with the aftermath of that COVID fallout. You know, you're talking about 19 players, I believe it were, that were on the list at one point or another, and they're still looking for a few to come back. Mark Andrews, Willie Snead, Matthew Judon, who aren't going to be cleared in time to play tonight's game. So those are pretty important guys that they won't have. It's also the fact that they didn't have any real practices. You know, you had to play that game against the Steelers. Now it's a short week. You're trying to do this again, and they finally got a couple practices in, but none with Lamar Jackson, who was finally taken off the list at 4 o'clock yesterday, and they expect him to play, although I say that, John Harbaugh wouldn't admit it. He wouldn't even admit that he practiced. Now, they had to have a practice report. He was out there, but they went indoors to keep the media away. They said it was because of the wind, but in general, they think maybe it was just because they didn't want us to see Lamar Jackson getting his work in. So this is a team that is certainly trying to find their way here and get back on some level footing. Also, a couple more players that you need to keep in mind for tonight, Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams. Now, both those guys were on the COVID-19 reserve list. Williams didn't have any symptoms, but they were both dealing with injuries, Campbell with the calf and Williams with a high ankle sprain. Harbaugh said they're very hopeful that both of those guys can play, and it would be very important to have those guys back against Zeke and the Cowboys.
Absolutely. That's very exciting and mysterious about Lamar, Mike. Make sure to follow Mike Giardi on Twitter all day. You know, everyone wrote out the NFC East, but maybe in your circle of friends or where you work, there's one person who says, no, hold on now. The NFC East is excellent. Here at the show, that's Peter Schrager, who tells us how entertaining it is, how exhilarating, how intoxicating even the NFC East is. So, Mike, tap into that. Give us some of that back. What is the Cowboys' mindset heading into this game tonight?
They actually feel like they have plenty to play for. And look, it's obvious that this season has not gone at all the way they planned, whether it's the losses, losing Dak, a ton of injuries on the offensive line. But they're saying, here we are in December, and we still have a chance. Now, I don't know that they expected the Washington football team to win a game last night or the Giants to do the same against Seattle. So they find themselves 2 games out of the race, but they say we can still be part of this. We still have it in front of us, and there's a certain mindset here. You know, they're coming off, obviously, a very emotional couple of weeks with the loss of Marcus Paul, surprisingly, passing at the facility, and they had to deal with the fallout of that, but they said, you know, we're professionals, so we grieve together, and then we have to turn the page, and now we have something to play for, so let's do that together as a group, and let's make something special about this. I talked to Sean Lee on the phone. He said, look, I've been out of the race many times in November, in early November. That's terrible. He goes, despite the way it looks, we're still in it, and we have to feel that vibe and bring that energy tonight.
With a big person missing, of course, Zach Martin at guard on the IR list. They don't have him with an already reshuffled offensive line. Thank you so much, Giardi. We'll talk to you throughout the show ahead of this one. You can see it on NFL Network, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Taking a look at the playoff picture here in the NFC, looking at the Cowboys. They're not only 2 games back of the Giants in Washington, in last place for the NFC East. They're actually now last place in the entire NFC. Overall, no bueno. The Giants pull up an upset. Washington handled the Steelers. The Cowboys are facing a recovering and struggling Ravens team. So, Shrakes, how confident are you in the Cowboys' chances?
Do you remember the last time we saw the Cowboys play? It was on Thanksgiving. Do you remember how many things have happened since then? Kendall Hinton has started a football game and been inactive for a football game since we last saw them. So it's been that long. Okay, I think I have to feel confident that this team has the edge against a Ravens team that is battling COVID and played, Wednesday. Yeah. This has been the longest break I could imagine between games any team has ever had in an NFL season without a bye. Thursday, watched a whole Sunday of football, watched another full Sunday of football, watched a Monday of football, and now it's their time to lick their chops. They're healthier than they've been. And if ever there was a time, it was a week where they watched Washington and the Giants, and even the Eagles put up a good fight against the Packers. The NFC East kind of wake up and say, we're here to, this is it. I know we said it the last 12 weeks.
This is really it.
This is really it. If you lose to this Ravens team coming off the COVID situation, I can't raise my flag for the Cowboys next week.
Not only have they watched a couple of teams within the NFC East make plays and big wins, they also been watching the Ravens for a couple of weeks now. Now, if you want to create a game plan, if Mike McCarthy wants to shut the door, Kellen Moore wants to shut the door on all the criticism, go out there with an awesome game plan and show everybody that you can be creative and attack downhill when facing that Ravens defense. Now, when it comes to the game in particular, I think I was a bit dismissive when it came to teams being moved, teams moving their games, guys getting COVID, and not because COVID doesn't exist, I'm not that guy, but because I feel like there's so many people dealing with real COVID issues, loss of jobs, loss of family members. I'm like, all right, you move an NFL game, a guy gets the sniffles, you're playing football, man, you're a millionaire. I can admit right now I was too dismissive, and it's real. There's something called the COVID fog. If a guy comes down with it and then you ask him to go play a week later, he might be still coming out of that. Now you're talking about the Baltimore Ravens who have dealt with it, a different type of strain. Guys like Calais Campbell coming out and be like, yo, this is real. This is one of the biggest, toughest dudes in the NFL. Saying, look, yo, I was hurting. Yeah. So how is that guy and a bunch of individuals that might be feeling the same way going to play football up against a team that is well-rested, ready to go, and more motivated than ever? So with all that said, it's almost like I feel like the Cowboys are going to win this game versus they have a chance to.
They're 3-8. I think they're going to get creamed.
No
I think
momentum.
they're terrible. I really do. Like, I'm past that point, Peter. You're saying this is like this.
Yeah.
I'm past there.
I know.
On Thanksgiving. See you later.
Fake punt.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing, too. Like, you want to get into the specifics. You were talking about how much has changed since they've last played. Do you know the last time Ezekiel Elliott rushed for a touchdown? It was October 11th. Wow. It's December.
Completely different.
What the hell's going on out here? No,
The
listen.
offensive line.
It's fun. Yeah, the line.
You're over it.
It's a very bad team. And listen, I also do follow up, like, if Mike McCarthy, if you're ever going to sink your teeth into something, it's the whole of, like, all the cool kids are doing it after school. Like, Joe Judge seems awesome right now, and Ron Rivera seems like Captain America. Mike McCarthy, who are you? What do you stand for? They've taken their teams, and they've lost their quarterbacks, and they're still winning. Joe Judge just took Colt McCoy and went to Seattle and won a game. I don't care if Lamar doesn't play. I still think the Ravens are going to win. I think McSorley, what's his name, Marty McSorley?
Trace McSorley.
Marty McSorley, I think, would win,
The
too.
stick was illegal in that game.
I know that. And
Marty.
I don't see the Cowboys. I hope they do because it would add to the entertainment in the NFC East. However, I don't think so. Nothing I've seen says they're going to compete in this game. No. Wait, what am I doing here? Lying and saying, Cowboys, ratings. I don't care. I don't do that. I think the Cowboys will get blown out.
The sick thing is the ratings probably are better when they're losing. It's like...
And they're going to spike tonight, Strags.
Cowboys have lost 5 of 6. Are you worked up, fired up?
A little worked up, yeah.
Angry? Like